Hey, Brad, what's that?
What's what?
That thing right in front of you, man.
Oh. You mean the script that's telling me to remind our listeners to subscribe to Geeklirious on iTunes or any platform of their choice?
Yeah, but wasn't there more?
Alright, let me take a look. Oh, hey, there's a part where I tell the listeners to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter using our handle @Geeklirious.
Yeah, that's the best line I ever wrote.
Oh, crap. I deleted it. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 34 of Geeklirious. My name is Brian Cambriello, and joined once again this week, my lovely fiance, Alyssa.
I thought it was Mike Tessmacher.
Mike Tessmacher.
Sorry, I love his last name.
Our usual host on Geeklirious is moving this week, so we're filling in for him.
Can I still go by Mike Tessmacher?
Mike Tessmacher?
Sure.
No. I'm just gonna call you Alyssa. But yes, so usually we start off this whole the main show, the Geeklirious show, with some friendly banter back and forth. How's your week been? How's my week been? The thing is, though, we work together. I see you every day. I know how your week's been.
How has my week been?
It's been pretty good for the most part. You know, normal week. No extra things here or there. Just this, but you're doing this. This is a new monkey wrench into your standard week.
I'm putting this on my resume.
Oh, you better.
Will you be a reference?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll write you a beautiful reference.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was a writing major. No, I wasn't. But I write pretty well.
You did computers.
I do computers. Yeah. Okay, so we should break into our main topic for episode 34.
I have to ask.
Yes.
Did you pick this main topic strictly because you knew I would be filling in?
Yes.
I knew it. I love this one.
Yes. So we're talking, if you haven't guessed already by the title, about the top binge-worthy TV shows. These are TV shows from cable, Netflix, Amazon
Hulu.
Prime, Hulu, all that good
HBO.
stuff. HBO Go. Why not?
Yes, that's what it was. HBO Go.
All the shows that you're able to kind of just sit down and from episode 1 to whenever they're up to, and just go crazy, you know, just episode after episode after episode. So, I think we started off with a little fun. So, do you remember the first TV show you ever binge watched?
That's a toughie, because as we both know, I am the queen of binging.
You are the queen of binging. This is why I've never met anybody in my life who can binge watch a TV show like this one right here.
If you would like, I could give you lessons.
I don't want lessons. I don't want that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
It's an art form, I swear.
It is definitely, it's something. It's a form. I don't know about art. But I know for a fact that, when I first got Netflix back, oh, geez, I probably had it for a couple of years now. The first show I ever watched, like, you know, just first episode to last was, Scrubs, which is, the first one on my list. I absolutely love Scrubs. It's one of the few shows that has, like, a perfect ending. And I'm not counting that last season, where they, like, teach at a medical hospital. I'm talking about...
I was gonna say, yeah, I remember that part.
Yeah,
that was not a fun part.
Yeah, but that wasn't, like, even, like, part of, like, the main show. It was, like, a spin-off, almost. Like, I'm talking about if you go through the main Scrubs, and then that last episode where they have Christmas dinner like, they have, like, an old, like, camcorder recording style. It's such a cute scene. I love it. Have you seen it? Have you seen the last episode?
I've seen it, and I'm not gonna lie, like, nothing wrong with Scrubs. I love Scrubs, but it's one of those shows where it's like, I've watched episodes, and I think I've seen every episode here and there, but I've never actually sat down and binged it. I really think that's probably going to be one of my next, like, feel-good comedy sort of shows to watch and binge it.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't even know where it's available anymore, which is sad.
I thought it was on Netflix.
It was for the longest time, and they took it off. I don't know if it's even streaming on any of the main platforms anymore.
I wonder if it's going to come to Hulu then. Only because I've noticed a lot of the times when something good, like Scrubs or something where it's got a decent fan following still to this day, like, it'll end up coming back on the other one.
Yeah, I would love to see it picked up by another streaming service. But anyway, so yeah, Scrubs is my first pick. Alyssa, what is yours?
Well, just to answer your first question about the first thing I ever binge watched, I'm gonna add a little thing on there, and the first thing I've ever binge watched, and it was with you.
It was with me?
I'm just gonna say the first show I've ever binge watched with you was probably Breaking Bad, because you're the one who turned me on to this. Now, it's not on my list because I have some other go-to ones, but I just wanted to throw it in there as a honorable mention because that is one of those shows.
Breaking Bad, really? Not Gilmore Girls?
I'm saying Gilmore Girls was later on, but that's old school. Because Gilmore Girls, I used to binge because I would ask for the seasons on DVD for Christmas.
Oh,
and
that
I
still
had to
counts,
build
though.
that
That
up.
still counts.
That's
like a pre-binge watch.
Yeah, that was before you could actually binge watch things like you can nowadays. Because back in those days,
it was very hard to do it.
Yeah, it took me like 3 Christmases to get all the seasons. And then, what does it happen? It comes on Netflix.
Yeah, so you got all these, like, box set DVDs over here, and
I regret nothing.
They're useless.
No, they're not, because when they come off of Netflix, I'll be able to satisfy my need of a mother-daughter dynamic.
Oh my god. What's your first one?
Now that I've irritated you, my first one would have to be The Office.
Good pick.
Come on. Michael Scott. There's so many...
Michael!
That would be Dwight Schrute. Bears. Beats. Battlestar Galactica. And then you've just got Jim and his pranks. Yes, I will not count the final season without Michael. Because without Michael Scott, there is no Office.
I don't know. I think they did a pretty good job without him.
What was all the stuff going on with, like, Erin, and she's with him, and then she's not with Andy? It's just... No, it was a whole bunch of BS. Andy's fighting for Erin, and then ends up getting her back, only to just up and have a crisis and leave. No, that was some BS. But the Pam and Jim love story, my God.
Yeah, I have to admit that's probably one of the best, like, on-screen love stories, if not the best in, like, television history. It's so well done.
And there's just so many characters. Working in an office myself, you relate to all those characters.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's always a time or a person where there's a Meredith or an Angela. Oh my God, when Dwight set up the fire alarms to do a fire, like, escape practice, and Angela's chucking her cats up to Oscar that she hid in her drawers. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's one of the funnier scenes. But yeah, no, that's probably one of the most, like, famous binge watching shows. Like, there's always, like, there's those memes about, like, oh, I could watch a new show, but I could watch The Office again for, like, the 14th time. So, no, yeah, that's a classic, binge watching show. So, moving on, the next one on my list is probably the, one of the earliest, shows I binge watched, aside from Scrubs, which was, Doctor Who.
Oh, Doctor Who.
My friend, Sully, shout out to Mr. Sullivan, he set me up.
Sullivan Jessup.
He, like, turned me on to it. He was like, hey, check out Doctor Who. I'm like, alright, cool. So, I watched the first episode and I absolutely hated it. I did not like it. I did not get it. I thought it was cheesy.
I find it funny that you're currently wearing a Doctor
I
Who
am.
shirt.
No, I'm wearing a Doctor Who shirt, and no, but there's a happy ending. So I went back to Sully. I was like, dude, what was that? Like, come on. That was cheesy. It looked like old school Power Rangers. Like, it looked terrible. And he's like, dude, just continue watching it. It gets better. And I'm like, all right. So I watched the first episode again, and then I just took off from there. I ended up watching pretty much every episode that was on Netflix, within like a 2-month time span. And we're talking, this is like 5-6 seasons. Like, it was great. I ran through Eccleston and Tennant and Matt Smith. And I loved every second of it, and I'm anxiously awaiting the new season in the fall.
Who's your favorite Doctor? Trick question, I know the answer.
Funny enough, it's actually Christopher Eccleston, the Ninth Doctor.
Yes.
I love him to death. He's so good. And, which is funny, because I initially hated his first episode, and now going back, the episode Rose, the first episode of the Ninth Doctor's series, is easily one of my favorite episodes. So it's funny how things work out like that. But yeah, it keeps you gripped, it keeps you wanting more, a lot of cliffhangers, and Doctor Who is such an easy watch that you just keep going with it. So yeah, that is my next pick.
I will give you a prop to Doctor Who, because the first episode I saw was the episode...
What did I show you? Weeping Angels?
No, you showed me the artist one. I'm having a brain fart.
Vincent Van Gogh.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my favorite episode.
Sorry, Da Vinci and Van Gogh are my two favorite artists of all time, and I kept thinking Da Vinci.
Yes, the episode's called The Vincent and the Doctor. It's easily, in my opinion, the best Doctor Who episode.
That will be the episode that would get any person into Doctor Who.
No, if you're a fan of Doctor Who, and if you want to show somebody an episode, Vincent and the Doctor is your go-to.
By far.
So good.
So, the next one on my list, I'm gonna take it off The Office, is gonna be Parks and Rec, because I feel like they're very much...
Yeah, they go hand in hand.
Exactly. If you watch one, you need to watch the other. I mean, Leslie Knope. Can we please just talk about Leslie Knope?
Can we talk about Ron Swanson?
Shh, we'll get there. Leslie Knope is what we all dream we could be. Someone who's passionate about their job and loves what they're doing and is very upbeat, and she has one downfall. She does sound like you. She only has one downfall. She loves waffles.
What?
Waffles are blasphemy. Everyone knows pancakes are where it's at. But other than that, I can forgive her. But then you got the man, the legend, the mustache, Ron Swanson.
He's my favorite character.
He is the antagonist to Leslie. He challenges her, because he's everything opposite of her. She loves the government and politics and parks and helping the town, and he could not give a flying flingle.
Good word.
Thank you. I got inventive there. About any of that. He's just in it because he wants to kind of implode the government on itself, because he doesn't even believe in government.
So why is this show so binge-worthy, though? What makes it, Because
it goes back to the same thing as The Office. It's just the dynamic. It's very much, you can relate to those people, because there's always that go-getter one that's passionate and actually really cares, like Leslie. There's always the Ron Swanson.
The cynic.
Exactly. And then you've got the weirdo who thinks they're cool, like Tom.
Yes.
Gotta love Tom.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of parallels between Parks and Rec and The Office, I feel like, with character, dimensions. There's...
And I'm in April.
You're in April.
We all know I'm in April.
I think I'm...
That means you're in Andy.
I was gonna say, I think I'm probably wishing I was an Andy, but probably more like a Leslie.
You're more like a Burt Macklin.
Burt Macklin. No, but yeah, Parks and Rec is one of the few shows that I really do adore. I love the character interactions and the relationships on the show, and it keeps you coming back for more. And I think that's why they're 30-minute episodes, and they go by real quick.
Oh yeah.
And aside from
just gotta get through the beginning.
I was going to say the first season's terrible.
It's not that bad. It's just when Rob Lowe and I forget the other actor's name.
The jerk brother from Step Brothers.
Yes, I forget his character,
name.
but he and Leslie and their dynamic. That's who you'd be if I can remember his name. Like it's on the tip of my tongue.
Well, you're not getting any help from me because
I know.
I've like partially watched this show a couple times.
Yeah, I finished this series because I left you.
I know. I can't keep up. I can't keep up with your binge watching. I don't have that much patience.
Takes time and effort, man.
So moving on. So a show that you had mentioned briefly before, Breaking Bad. So everybody knows on this podcast that I love Breaking Bad. Anyway, that Breaking Bad is one of my all-time favorite shows. I've mentioned it before countless times that it's one of my favorites. Even though they're hour-long episodes, every episode seems to end like in a cliffhanger. And you'll be at 11:30 at night and you'll be like, okay, one more episode. That's like the freaking mantra of Breaking Bad. I'd be up at 2 o'clock in the morning. One more episode, like a rain dance. I was going to start like thunderstorms.
Do you remember watching that?
Breaking Bad?
When you started watching it with me, because I had vaguely heard about this show. You were the one who sat me down and told me we need to watch this.
Yeah.
And it was when the last season was airing.
Mm-hmm.
So you were watching the last season as we were binging the whole previous series.
Yeah, that was rough. That was so much Breaking Bad. I was watching the new episodes while I was in college during my breaks. I would just, I forget what day it aired. I think it was like Wednesday or something like that. And then I guess like Thursday after it aired, I would sit in the common room and just like watch the new episode of Breaking Bad. It was like my safe haven. And then I would go home and binge watch the first like 5 or 4, whatever season we were up to.
It was 5, I think.
Yeah.
I think they had 6.
Yeah, so whatever it was, the first couple seasons, and that show, it's so addictive, it's so good, the writing on it, the characters.
The real thought put into it by the creator.
Yeah.
Because I remember you told me, which season was it? The one with the airplane.
Season 2.
Where every episode has pretty much like a one-word title, but when you put them all together, they give you the biggest hint as to how the season's gonna end.
Yeah, it's like 747 over, down over like ABQ, which is like Albuquerque's, which is where they live in New Mexico. No, incredible. And like, there's like 63 or 62 episodes in total, and, that number corresponds to the periodic table, and that element helps cure cancer, which the main character has cancer.
No, but wasn't it specifically the lung cancer?
Yeah, specifically lung cancer, yeah.
So it's just all those little thoughtful details. You can really learn to appreciate a show.
Oh yeah, no, the writing and the little callbacks and references, it's very smart writing, and Breaking Bad's fantastic, and also Better Call Saul's really good too. I have to finish that. But yes, Breaking Bad.
Last little tidbit on that is, overall as a series, it's serious and it's a drama, but they had such great comedic little tidbits. Like, Jesse's just honestly a freaking comic relief throughout most of it.
Yeah, but then he gets real dark, and it's such a contrast, and you really see characters change so much over the course of the 6 seasons or whatever it is.
Well, that attests to how great the show is. You really develop with them.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think, and Jesse Pinkman definitely probably has like the greatest change out of all of them. He's completely different from episode 1 to the last episode.
He kind of grows up.
Yeah, He
throughout
does.
the whole bit and gets hardened by the world and the reality of it.
Oh yeah, and honestly, he really hits like the most. He has like the most loss out of everybody on that series. Just like everybody around him starts dying. It's crazy. But yes. All right. What's your next one?
All right. So I'm gonna throw this one out here because it's probably one of my top go-tos that are feel good. Friends.
Oh God, yes.
I know, Brian. I have binge watched it. I believe the first time I binge watched it, I finished it, and then I was like, let's do it all over again.
Yeah, I believe you started it like right after you were done, and I was like looking at you like, are you freaking kidding me? Like,
yes, I remember that day. He almost took me to a mental institution, but it's okay.
I don't know how you do it. Anyway, so tell me about why Friends is so good. Is it the characters? Is it the writing? The jokes?
Honestly, all of that rolled into one. It's the fact that, one, I believe David Schwimmer said it best because he was in an interview and people were asking like, oh, you guys think you'll bring back Friends? And he goes, no. I don't think there'll ever be like maybe like one Friends reunion because it's a whole thing of where it was at that time. No one would do that now. You can't bring it into today's time. And I kind of grew up towards the end of that decade where it was, you couldn't just text your friends on your phone and be like, yo, how's it going?
Yo.
You actually had to like meet up and shoot the breeze and stuff like that. So it was fun that they had almost like, kids would have a tree house. They had Central Perk. And the way they stay in touch with each other and the dynamic between everybody is what really gets you. Because you've got... Friends is probably one of those shows where, again, it's relatable because you look at your friend group and you're going to have a Phoebe where it's like the hippy dippy friend that's kind of like go with the flow and just very woo in nature and all that. And then you've got the Monica, because every
Clean freak.
neat freak, control freak, needs to have everything just so. And you've got the Rachel, the popular like party girl, and the Joey that's just like the...
How you doing?
the player kind of pickup sort of guy. And then you've got Ross. If I had to pick anybody, I'm probably the perfect mix of a Ross
and a Monica.
I wish it was a Rachel, but I am a Monica.
You're definitely not a Rachel. I mean that in the best possible way.
I said I wish. But you got Ross, who is so relatable in the fact that, like, he's just trying to be happy out of life. But he's just an adorkable mess up in the best possible way. And then you've got Chandler, who you can't with his, like, little zingers and his sarcasm.
I do. So, my take on the show, I absolutely love the comedy aspect of the show. I think the writing is really well done. The jokes are very funny on it. I'm not a huge fan of the show, nearly not as huge as you are, obviously. I like select. I like select episodes, but it's not for me. It's not an episode that it's not a show I would binge watch. I like the individual episodes. I like the individual jokes themselves, but I don't like. It just gets grating, like on my nerves a little bit, too much. That's just my personal opinion on it.
I get that, but I feel like the key to binge watching is you have to get invested in the characters to where they're almost like, it sounds weird to say, like your friends and your family.
Extensions of yourself.
No, they remind you of people. So it's funny to sit there and be like, oh, that's something so-and-so would do. So that's what gets you, like, continuing to be involved in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. There's definitely a reason why it's so popular, and people love this show, obviously, and it really got a new revival once Netflix picked it up. No, but I do love Friends. Like, as a show, it's good. I just, too much. I don't know. I'm not as into it, but you're allowed
what you're
to be.
Saying, but with them bringing it back on Netflix, it's funny to see kids nowadays that have no clue what it was like at that time in the 90s, and them doing what they're doing, and kids like looking at it, trying to relate, but they'll never be able to relate because it's such a simpler time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a culture shock, I feel like. And the fact that kids can still relate to it is funny to me. That
I get the biggest chuckle out of, because you're sitting there like, really, sweetie, you can relate? You don't know this.
Yes, but no, Friends, obviously a cult classic, definitely worth the binge watch for most people, not myself, but most people. So moving on, I'm gonna hit a little bit of the DC universe. We don't really talk about a lot of DC stuff on this podcast.
Marvel's better.
Marvel, it's debatable. I know Mike, without a shadow of a doubt, would say that Marvel is better.
Marvel's better.
I think they both have their high points, but one of DC's best, in my opinion, is The Flash, the CW show. It is fantastic. It's definitely worth binge watching. It's one of those shows that every episode ends in a bit of a cliffhanger. I would say especially during the first season, when you're trying to figure out the dynamics of the villain and how he, like, you find out a little bit more each week, and each episode you find out how the villain is connected to Barry, and you know, there's so many little intricacies that the show does a fantastic job with, and it really makes you think and wonder, oh, who could the Reverse Flash be? Who could this be? It's like, oh, why is he doing this? Whoa, what's going on there? Not to mention that the show itself has a good mixture of action and comedy, and the love story in it is it's good. Not great, but good. But I don't come for the love story. I come for the comic book brought to life. So DC has a real issue in their movies with making things very dark and gritty and the TV shows are almost the exact opposite of that. They are very lighthearted and funny and bright. The color is very poppy. Anyway, one of the many reasons I love Flash, I know I got you into it. I know from at the beginning you didn't like it as much, and then you were like, oh, you watched it without me? And I'm like, I thought you didn't like it. You're like, I'm getting into it. Cause it's good. It's the best CW show. Easily.
It took a while. Let's get that straight. It took a long time, bro. Because...
But it hooks you like a hawk in its talons.
Because, I'm not gonna lie, I am a Marvel person. Like, I have nothing against DC as a whole, but specifically, like, The Flash, he was kind of like an character to me, always. I didn't hate him. I have nothing against Flash, but he wasn't one that was like, oh, I need to watch him. And I believe Green Arrow came out before The Flash, if I'm correct.
Yes,
right?
yes.
The CW show?
Green Arrow was the first CW show in that DC universe.
So I had originally started to try and watch Green Arrow because I was like, oh, this looks intriguing, let's give it a shot. And nothing against Green Arrow, it just was a little too, like, meh.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Green Arrow either. It's not my cup of tea.
It felt like, a cheap version of Iron Man / Tony Stark. Like,
see, I see more Batman when I watch that show, personally.
That too. I mean, I get it. Probably a better analogy is Batman to Green Arrow, because it felt very much like, oh, well, I'm rich. I've got kung fu or whatever sort of fighting powers. Great.
Fighting powers?
I don't know. He can shoot an arrow. Congratulations. How's an arrow gonna beat a gun?
No, ask Hawkeye. No.
Listen, don't touch on my Hawkeye.
No, yeah, obviously, Green Arrow wasn't my cup of tea, even with the help of John Barrowman. I loved him in Doctor Who. That's one of the main reasons I watched, the first season. I just couldn't get into it. Flash, however, felt like a whole 360, a lot different. Green Arrow, yes, was a bit more dark and gritty.
It
but
was more
Flash...
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Flash had some comic relief in it, which you kind of need with superheroes.
Yeah.
When they're all dark and dreary, for a TV show, it's not going to keep you coming back, because it's just going to be depressing. And there's no real, hook. At least not for most of the first season.
No, I completely understand what you're getting at, and I would agree with that. The Flash, honestly, right from the start, it really hit me and got me into it. So, easily a binge-worthy show because, like I stated before, every episode seems to kind of end in a cliffhanger and it keeps you going, and it's lighthearted, it's fun, it's an easy watch. 30, what is it, hour episode? Yeah, I think it's an hour episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they go by very quick, and I still need to watch the latest season. Maybe we'll start after we finish up the current show we're watching. But yes, Flash, definitely worth the binge watch. What's next?
Okay, I know I'm gonna get a lot of heat because this is not my top one, but it's probably tied for top. And I'll admit, just so you know, as a disclaimer, I refused to watch the show at first because I am a person who gets invested in characters. So that's what clicks me with binge watching. But Game of Thrones. Like I said, at the get-go, I refused to watch it. I'm like, nope, heard everyone gets killed off. I'm not gonna like that because I hate when my favorite characters leave shows and are gone, because then it's like, alright, I don't really care anymore. But, my God, the twists and turns in that show, like you said, I believe with The Flash, it just keeps you wanting more. I believe I binge watched, what season? It was 6 seasons? However many seasons, because I am current, and I binge watched that, and those episodes are easily an hour.
Yeah.
I binged it in a weekend?
It's kind of scary.
Yes, I know. I had 2 days off. I think it was 2.5, 3 days, something like that.
That's still terrifying.
Alright. I think that's probably impossible, but I know it was a good, week
About a
max.
week. Let's say a week. But, no, I know what you're saying. And I had a hard time keeping up with you. Hell, you even just took off and watched it, and I just kind of filled in the gaps whenever I was able to watch it with you, because it was just too much.
Because at the beginning, you weren't catching on to it, and I was determined to watch this, though it didn't take long to catch me. You've got so many dynamic characters that you just see them evolve. Because you see these kids, the Stark family, as little kids, just trying to figure out, and they're in this noble family and all that. And then all of a sudden you see Arya Stark, who is supposed to be this prim and proper, noble girl learning how to, cook and clean and do that sort of stuff. But she wants to be out with her brothers, learning to fight and sword fight, and keeps being told no until her father, lets her do it.
Yeah.
Then you've got someone like Sansa, which I know overall crowd was not a big fan of her at first. But she becomes her own. Going from prim and proper, wanting to marry Joffrey and be the future queen and all that, to honestly becoming a real badass. And I know I probably can't say the A word, but I just said it.
That's fine.
And then you've just got Jon Snow. My God. Jon Snow, you cannot get better than that. Swordsman, knows how to fight, cares for his family. He's the bastard of the family and is just trying to figure out where he comes from and where he fits in this world. And he's kind of the outcast, which I feel like everyone can mostly relate to.
Yeah.
In that way. Everyone feels like the outcast. He's kind of the outcast of his family. And then you've got Daenerys Stormborn, which is just, overall since the get-go, when her brother was marrying her off to Drago just to regain the kingdom, and she turns it into her own, and she ends up
There's a lot
taking
of, like,
hold.
women empowerment, characters in here. You know, girls that are forced into a gender role of sorts and then break free of that. I can respect that. It's super cool. And especially in today's day and age with, you know, with the Me Too movement and, you know, women empowerment and stuff like that. It's great to see strong female characters like this in such a mainstream TV show. It's awesome.
Especially something that takes place back in such a far time where
like
this
fantasy, medieval, yeah.
Yeah, granted, it's obviously, like you said, it's fantasy, and it's not what really would have happened back then, but still, to see something in that time.
Well, they do take those, like, archetypes from, like, medieval culture and stuff like that, so,
Yeah.
you know, women were the household maker, and they, you know, they weren't fighters, the men provided, you know, the old gender stereotypes.
What I will give this show is the fact that overall, those fight scenes and how, even though it was against, like, main characters and, like, characters I love dying.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
There's a lot of death, and it will get gory. But it was just so worth it because it really helped the whole plot line.
And I think
really
that's
carried the story.
I think it's one of the things that makes it so, like, binge watch worthy is because of the fact that so many main characters get killed off. You don't know
who's gonna last.
Who's gonna last. Like, nobody's safe. You know, you don't know for sure. It's very similar to, like, The Walking Dead, where they kill off main characters seemingly at random. And, you know, Game of Thrones is the same way. It keeps you watching because you want to know if your favorite character survives or not. And it's great.
One of mine died. Hodor.
Yeah, oh, poor Hodor. Spoiler.
Alright.
No,
I know,
it's been a while.
This is gonna be...
No, I know.
A spoiler.
That's one of my... See, I didn't watch the show, at first, and it's one of those shows that everybody loves and everybody's always talking about. And I'm, you know, very well versed on the internet. You know, I'm on a lot of different sites and social media groups and, like the nerd culture, it kind of seeps in. And I unfortunately got a lot of spoilers for the show. So I didn't want to watch the show because I felt like I knew everything. And to some, in some aspects that was true. But honestly, when watching the show with you, I really did I was surprised by certain things, and I didn't know as much as I thought I knew, because so much goes on the show that, yes, even though a few deaths got spoiled for me and whatnot, there were just some things that I didn't see coming. And even though I haven't watched every single episode, I think I have a good grasp on at least, I'd say a good 65 to 70% of the show. And
I definitely agree.
Yeah, no, it's definitely great, and the binge watch factor is off the charts on this one.
It's just Tyrion, you can't get better than Tyrion.
Oh, Tyrion's a great character, the dwarf.
I drink and I know things. Peter Dinklage.
Yes, Peter Dinklage.
Oh my god. But I think it's because big moments could get spoiled, but I'm that type where it's like, just because I know something's gonna happen, I like to see it play out. Because seeing it and just knowing the fact that so-and-so dies are two different things. Like, to see it actually happen, you're in that moment and you're entranced in it.
Right.
But there's also so many little intricacies throughout the show and how all these people intertwine and, like,
it's
weird
cool.
connections are just what get you in.
It's very cool. I like how the show, the show features characters that are, like, far away from each other and don't meet. And then when they finally meet, it's like a big thing. It's cool. But yes, Game of Thrones, definitely like I said before, off the charts as far as binge watching goes. Probably one of the best binge watching shows, I'd say, aside from Breaking Bad. So my last one or couple is my podcast, so I'm cheating a little bit. So I was trying. Cheater. Get over it. So I'm picking the Marvel Netflix shows. This includes obviously Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist, The Defenders, and The Punisher. They're all in the same vein. I don't care. Whatever.
Break the rules, breaking the law.
I don't care. Whatever. Mike's not here. He's not here to keep me in check. I'm off the rails. But all the Netflix shows, they share the same properties. Action-packed episodes, very short seasons. The seasons are typically, I think, 13 episodes in length.
I was going to say about that, yeah. 10 to 13.
Yeah, they go very quickly, and
especially
they're like little comic book movies, you know? Obviously, they're a lot longer than a movie, because typical movies like 2.5 hours, and this is like 13 hours, but whatever. Anyway, but I think Daredevil, was the first one to come out, caught my eye immediately. I love that show to death. Jessica Jones came out. I honestly like that show better than Daredevil. Yes. Both Luke Cage and Iron Fist, in my opinion, were great. Punisher was excellent. And these shows, I think, besides the fact that they're action-packed and cliffhangers and there's a lot of content in them, what makes them so binge-worthy is the fact that they are such short seasons. They're almost like bite-sized. And I love that. I love the fact that I know that there's like a finite amount of them. And so, like, when you watch them, you pay attention to every little detail because you know that they have to fit so much in. And, like I said, extremely addictive. It's, I think every time I've started watching one of those, like Marvel Netflix shows, I've finished it within the week. For the most part. I mean, except for Punisher. Punisher took me a bit longer because I was,
there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot.
That time.
Oh, yeah. But, no, the Marvel Netflix shows, I can't speak today. If you haven't watched them, I would say especially Daredevil, Punisher, and Jessica Jones are the big, those are the best, in my opinion. But definitely worth it and total binge-worthy shows. And they all intertwine. So it's really cool because it's almost like one big show shot from the perspectives of different characters. So, yeah, definitely worth it. And yeah, so all the Marvel Netflix shows.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that and just let you know. Because I love, like you said, they had to fit so much, but there's so much thought put into it. Yeah. Because there are little throwbacks to the original comic book characters. Like, I believe in Jessica Jones, and in Luke Cage, too, they reference their original, like, comic book outfits.
Yeah, they do.
But what I love is, like, I'm a Jessica Jones fan, by far. Yeah. Jessica Jones, Punisher, love them. Other ones are good, but those are my favorites, specifically Jessica, and how she's so different from her comic book character. In, like, her personality and her aesthetic. Because if you look at comic book character pictures of Jessica Jones, she looks very pretty, proper, like, put together, got the suit and everything. You watch the series, her superhero outfit is combat boots, boyfriend ripped up jeans, a white beater, and a leather jacket. She's very surly, to the point, very callous, and that's what makes you love her. Plus, she loves whiskey, so can't beat a girl that loves whiskey. Sorry.
I mean, you can beat her with the bottle.
That's abuse. We don't go there.
Yeah, I can't really speak to that because I've never watched nor seen nor read Jessica Jones outside of the show. But very, very great show. Probably, in my opinion, the first season of Jessica Jones is the best of the Marvel shows, but that's my humble opinion. I think Alyssa's as well.
Oh, definitely. Kristen Ritter went into that character and gave it her all. And she actually says to this day it's one of her favorite characters to play. She's actually, I believe, in the new season directing some of the episodes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, she was doing a little sneak peek about that.
Well, what is your last one?
My last one is the current phenomenon.
Yes.
That has hit Netflix. I believe I forget what network it's on, because it's on one of the networks. I want to say TBS something.
I want to say it's CW, actually.
CW. Maybe. It might be CW. I'm not sure, but that's not the point.
So what is it?
Growing up as a kid in the 90s, I loved to go get my bubble gum, and you got the little Archie comic with it. It was a nickel. I loved it.
When were you born? The 1920s?
Dude, they were still around.
I'm just joking. It is the CW. I was right. Haha.
And I used to have those Archie books with the comics in it, where you had Betty and Veronica. And if you didn't get it by now, it is dun dun dun.
Oh, you didn't say it? Jesus.
Riverdale.
It's Riverdale.
I kind of said it, because if you don't know, then
that lead up. Yeah, no. We've been both watching Riverdale, both seasons.
I believe I got you into that because
yes, you recommended it, and then you recommended that we watched it, and then we watched it together. So we watched the first season, which was great. We're currently in the midst of the second season.
I would have been done by now if you weren't.
I know. Binge watch queen over here. Yeah, I can't sit there and watch as many episodes in a row, but it's a fantastic show. Why did you gravitate towards it so much? Is it just because you were a fan of the comics or the show itself?
Honestly, I believe going back, Archie comics were my first comics, to be honest. I had the little Archie comic, and they were books. I guess they were graphic novels? I don't know what you would call it. But I remember reading them as a kid, and they were very wholesome and clean-cut, and it's like good old boy Archie and whatnot. And then when I heard about this show, I immediately wanted to see what their take was going to be, because they said it was not going to be the Archie comics that you know and love. It was going to be a very dark take on it. So I was interested to see how that was going to work off of, and still pay homage and be true to these characters that people love. And somehow, I don't know how, but the show makes it work with the mystery of the first season, because you focus on a murder and how everyone in this town is sort of connected with it. And it was supposedly a clean-cut town of Riverdale, and all this dark, disturbing stuff is like coming down on it. And it's funny to see how these characters react. And you've got the throwbacks with Josie and the Pussycats in it as well. And I just love the casting of it, I'll be honest. They could not have cast this any better. By far, my favorite is Jughead Jones. He was always my favorite in the comics.
Yeah.
And I had to admit, Cole Sprouse, growing up with him, seeing him on like Zack and Cody and stuff, he does that character justice. He brought Jughead to life.
It's cool. No, I like seeing Cole Sprouse like in another acting role. You know, that's more of an adult thing, because Zack and Cody was like really that, and like what was the Adam Sandler movie they did?
Big Daddy.
Big Daddy, yeah.
But it's fun to see him grow up, and he plays kind of a gangster in it.
I love it, yeah.
Amazing, because he is able to transition into more of an adult sort of role in this, but the way they took it with the dark aspect is phenomenal. They really know how to keep you on the edge of your seat because it all centers around the first season, at least, around the murder of the death of Jason Blossom, and like the murder and who did it?
Yeah,
how did it happen?
I love those whodunit
I'm a sucker
shows,
for
yeah.
whodunit. And
the murder mystery.
And now the second season's it started around this mysterious figure called the Black Hood.
Yeah, who may or may not be captured at this point.
We're still figuring that out. I don't think he is, but...
No, I don't think he is either.
It focuses around that and Veronica Lodge's father, Hiram Lodge, and their family and how corrupt this one man could be. And
oh yeah, all the characters, I feel like they do a complete 180 from last season. Like,
oh yeah.
It's crazy how each character kind of develops and grows and changes, and just like the Archie and the Veronica and the Betty and the Jughead from last season are completely different from this season. They grew up so much, and I guess a small town murder will do that to a group of people, but
it's not just the murder itself that did it to them. It was them and their dynamics and the way they're different connections that are happening and how they're influencing them.
Yeah, and I love how, all of their parents and how they are and how, like, their parents act a certain way and their kids do, their kids kind of rebel against it a little bit. And it's cool.
Some rebel, some conform, which is the funny part.
Yeah.
To see. And it's also nice at the fact that the parents grew up together. They hint at that a lot in the different dynamics. So you're kind of like, wow, how that affects their kids.
And what I think is funny is that you've got these like almost like ironic connections. So the character of Archie is this like straight-laced kid, and currently he's like kind of rebelling against his father. But then you have Jughead, who is the rebel turned like street thug, and he's like close to his father. And it's funny how there's those ironies in the
plot line. It kind of did a flip, because if you remember clearly at the beginning, in the first season, it was the exact opposite.
Exactly, yeah.
Archie was head over heels for his father. He loved that man. And then now, like you said, he's kind of rebelling against him, or like trying to find his own, but he's not going down the right path of it.
Right.
And then you've got Jughead, who rekindles his connection with his father. And I'm a Betty all the way. I love Betty because since the beginning, she was very much a yes girl. She did as mommy and daddy said, and she's really growing into her own and saying, you know what? No, I want to do this. I'm gonna do this. If you don't like it, tough. Plus, she loves to investigate and spy, so I'm a sucker for that.
No, yeah, I like the character of Betty a lot, and this show is really a bit of a guilty pleasure for me, because normally I wouldn't kind of gravitate towards this, because it has elements of that teen drama, Degrassi kind of thing going on.
Don't diss Degrassi. Kevin Smith loves Degrassi.
I love Kevin Smith, so normally wouldn't be a thing that I would watch. But I think the fact that I read some of the Archie comics growing up, as you did, the fact that they put a new spin on it, they have those throwbacks to the classic characters with the way they dress and the fonts and very slight, almost very similar to the way that the Marvel series did, where a little bit of character design here and a little color here and there. I even noticed that one of the most recent episodes, someone held up a poster, and the poster's font was in the same Archie font from the comic books. It's little things like that, there
was Easter eggs too, because if you look at in the beginning, one of the episodes, Jughead's trying to save the drive-in, and he's putting up posters, and if you looked at the actual poster where he's trying to save the drive-in, it was the poster had the picture of the Archie comic from the drive-in.
Yeah.
And it was to the T, the character. You see little Archie in the car.
No, it's funny. It's really cool how they do it, and Yeah, like I said, a show I normally wouldn't watch, but for some reason it's gripped me, and I like the whodunit and the murder and the suspense and I think one thing that we've learned through this list is that the cliffhangers really do justice for that the binge watching nature of shows. If they have a kind of like, oh, I need to see what happens next kind of feel to it, you'll be more likely to watch the next episode. And then, like, much like me with Breaking Bad, 2 o'clock in the morning, one more episode. But yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. Cause I'm not gonna lie, in Riverdale, like, the first season kind of wrapped itself up to some extent. So when the second season was out, I was curious where they were gonna take it from there.
Yeah.
Because, like, Breaking Bad, the whole storyline really fed into the next season. Whereas this one, I was curious that the big, like, plot line of the first season kind of wrapped up to some extent at the end of it. But then the second season pulls you in and you're like, wow, you know what? Maybe it didn't.
Yeah, like, I would agree with that. Aside from a couple loose ends here and there, the first season really did wrap itself up, and the second season honestly has not disappointed me. It's very good. So yeah, maybe when we finish it up, we'll do a season 2 review. We could do that an episode or something like that. But, as it is, that I think will do it for episode 34 of Geeklirious. As always, if you guys are listening on iTunes, a 5-star review, not a 4, not a 3, definitely not a 2 or a 1. I don't know what you're doing.
Listen,
but
I am on this one now.
A 5-star review would be most appreciated, along with a little comment. Be like, hey, Brian and Mike are cool, and that one episode with Alyssa was cool too. Hey.
You should bring that Alyssa girl back. She's better.
Yeah, comment and let me know if you liked Alyssa, or maybe you hated her, but I won't show her those messages.
You won't. It'll make me cry. Don't make me cry, people.
Yes, and as always, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Geeklirious. If you want to old-fashioned it, a good old-fashioned Gmail.
Can I send you a letter?
You can, no, you don't have my address, so, geeklirious@gmail.com, the old-fashioned way of doing things. You can, write in and be like, hey, I can't believe you missed, How I Met Your Mother, or, whatever. But yes, thank you guys, as always, so much for listening. It's been an absolute pleasure. Brian signing off. Thank you, Alyssa, again, for helping me out this week.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Alright, guys. And, we will possibly see you on Friday for an episode of something or another. But until then.
Brian versus himself.
Brian versus himself.
Are you gonna clone yourself?
Alright. Peace out.
Bye.